You look at a lot of tribal rituals. You will find it, especially like Africa and I think in the Indonesian islands, you'll find that especially when there's a death or anything like that, that they do the cutting quite often. They scar themselves.
And what is the purpose of that? Do you know?
I think it was originally a way to deal with the pain, to release the pain in their customs. I'm not sure, but it makes sense when you think about what causes a person to start cutting. And I know that was the case with my client. She started cutting clear back when she was in school, and nobody realized it for many years that she was doing it. She was hiding it very well.
Yes. And so this client was cutting for decades, really, the one that you worked with.
Yeah, she's in her 40s and she's been cutting since she was in her teens.
And when she came to you, it was at a point that during her more difficult periods, she would cut daily, and she would also carve words into her skin.
Yeah, recently, a few months ago, she tried to commit suicide. And when she was, right before that, when she was really brittle, she started trying to carve actual words into her arm and her chest. And very, very difficult situation.
Yes, and that's where you stepped in. And I actually have a quote that she sent to you saying, "I honestly think you, Pat, and I are doing more to cure my issues than I'm getting in therapy. The therapist is helping me with coping skills, which is great, but you're actually helping me get through and over the problems."
Yeah. It's been so effective, the GTR. It's just been unbelievable for her. Along with the coping skills that she has learned from her therapist, the two in combination have just worked really well for her. And she's doing quite well at the moment.
Okay. And because we've been consulting on this client of yours, here are some of the things that I remember as some of the extremely good results that you were able to guide her towards. The biggest one, obviously, is her handing over her razor blades.
Yes, that was a huge, huge moment for her when she gave those razor blades over to her husband, because she had been hiding those so that nobody could find them, so she would have access. And for her to make that breakthrough was just tremendous.
Yes. And just so everybody understands how huge it is, skin cutting has this compulsive elements. It's very much OCD-like, meaning the person has this urge to cut for whatever reason, and the only way to resolve that tension, that distress, is specifically through the ritual, be it cutting. For somebody else, it might be skin picking or hair pulling, things like that. So the reason why I'm mentioning it is that it's a compulsion. They can't help it. So for you to get her to a place where she voluntarily hands over her razor blades, that's something that, as far as I know, even therapy cannot accomplish.
No, and they say most of the time, it's very difficult, even after treatment, for them to let go of that need to cut, because there's something about the sight of the blood that satisfies that need. The satisfaction was actually seeing the blood flow. It was like actively seeing that pain drain out.
And if I'm smiling, I just hope you know it's not because it's funny. It's because this is exactly what we're talking about in this lecture on OCD and similar issues. It's because it's a ritual. A ritual has specific rules, and that person knows how to conduct that ritual and when it's over and when it's complete. And so people who cut often say this very thing, that when I saw the blood, I knew it was complete and I felt better.
Yes.
Yeah. So handing over her razor blades, taking her from being suicidal, cutting every day and carving words into her skin to, okay, something is changing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's changing.
Yes.
Thank goodness.
Yes. And so, how is she doing today? I mean, considering how big this is, we wouldn't expect things to change from one day to another. But considering what she had before therapy and other kinds of help, what do you see?
Well, she's been in therapy this whole time. She's seen her therapist at least once or twice a week. Um, I'm very fortunate that the therapist is very open to working with my methods, our methods, the GTR method. She was going to refer her for EMDR in the beginning, the therapist was. And when I found that out, I reached out and said, you know, that's incorporated into our GTR method. I think I can really help you even more so than what just EMDR would do. And so we started working, and it's just been such a success. The transformation has been amazing. And she's learned other coping skills, which have helped her as well from the therapist. But the combination of the two has pretty much eliminated the cutting, and she's a lot calmer. They've adjusted her medications, of course, in this process. But at the moment, she's in a really good place.
Thank you for sharing that, because I find that this is one of those things that are a bit taboo and yet they're happening. And so we need to talk about them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Very hard subject to broach with people because they don't understand. They don't understand how a person could mutilate themselves in that manner.